Welcome back, Nick Lenz's Novel Reviews. This is episode number 20. Yes, episode 20. Okay? Alright? And there's only one book like last time. Okay? Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Force and Motion, written by Jeffrey Lay. Now, this book is not a typical DS9 book. It's like one of the episodes of the series, where it focuses on two characters. Well, unlike the series, which featured most of the characters in the entire in all the episodes, this one is entirely focused on Nog and Chief O'Brien. They've done this a few times in novels where they just focus on one character, one or two characters for a single book. Now, this book is set in several different time periods. Now, the present day stuff is set in January of 2386, but they have flashbacks in here, several of them. Like there's a couple of them that take place in the 2340s, like one that says like 38 years ago. So that's I think that was like 2348. Another one says 37, it's probably 2349. There are a few of them that they're kind of in order in the way. The episode of the Cardassians, which had the first appearance of the Cardassians, the reason why they flash back to that, which is in 2367, that they have from the episode Cardassians, and it took place in 2367, there's a character named Captain Benjamin Maxwell, who was Chief O'Brien's former commanding officer of the Rutledge. Yes. Captain Maxwell has commanded 2 starships. They mentioned the Rutledge. Don't know what type of ship it was. Not even in this book. They don't mention what type of ship it was. There are at least, as far as I can tell, at least 4 flashbacks set right after the events that was like immediately afterwards. Well, there's one other one I can think of. There is another flashback. Most of these flashbacks, each of these flashbacks is always focused on 3 characters, and the 3 primary characters of this book: Chief O'Brien, Nog, and Captain Maxwell. Maxwell, it's simply what he was doing since that particular episode. Like, there's one flashback, which is a follow-up to a previous flashback, featuring, from what I can tell, an Asian woman, kind of similar to Keiko, who is also Asian as well. I think she's Japanese, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I think Keiko is Japanese. They mention here the flashback where that woman who Chief O'Brien knew, apparently they briefly dated when they were on the Rutledge during one of the flashbacks, and it's referenced in here about his recent marriage to Keiko. Now, she's very happy for him. Now, they weren't much of a couple, from what I can tell in here, but I don't remember her name. If I can find her in here. Yeah, let's see here. Let's see here. I don't remember the person's name, but I think her name is like Chow, I think her name is. I don't know. But somehow she still ended up on the Maxwell, and she became his first officer. And now the first officer, they never mention this person's name on screen. All they mention is that Captain Maxwell handed command off to this person, and the crew would not be charged with anything, and Maxwell would get all the full punishment because they were all following his orders. Okay, fine. Now, Chief O'Brien basically explained everything that's going on in the episode of the Cardassians, that Maxwell basically kind of lied to them, thinking they were on orders from Starfleet when really they weren't. And it's also explained, like, after Captain Maxwell was sentenced to prison, the first officer resigned the commission. Yep. There's one that features Worf. Yeah, Worf. On the I believe on the Enterprise, if I'm not mistaken, where he's taken to his quarters, not a brig. He's not taken to the brig. He's taken to his quarters, and he's actually quite surprised at this. He thought basically, because the stuff he committed, guess he's going to go to jail. He thought maybe that he would be sent to the brig. Nope. He's sent to his own personal quarters, though I think he might be under he might be confined to quarters for his trip to a starbase for his court martial, which is referenced in here. They don't like show in detail the trial. All they mention here is that he fired his defense attorney and plead guilty to all the charges and offer like no witnesses, despite the fact Captain Picard and Chief O'Brien actually offered to be character witnesses. He could have easily gone off, but he wanted to endure the form of punishment. So he spent 20 years in a penal colony, and it's referencing here now again about his sessions with a therapist. Oh, there is one flashback. I'm kind of glad I threw this in here because with the Star Trek Destiny books, the reference in here with the Borg attacking everywhere, that he wanted to serve again. His request was denied, so he spent another 5 years at this particular penal colony. Even though he was sentenced for like 20 years, he was let out 19 years after he actually it was like 18 years after he'd been sent there, and he got sent to the space station, which is a privately owned space station called the Robert Hooke. Apparently, he's no rival of Isaac Newton. Yeah. The one thing I love about this book, they very much explain in detail what kind of station it is. It's a privately owned station, not a Starfleet station. It's a privately run station full of crackpot scientists. They also mention this woman named Nina, who has, I think it's implied that she has a thing for Captain Maxwell. I know I'm spoiling from this book, but some of this books is really interesting. But let's see what else. Oh yes, if you're wondering what's with the cover, there's this creature called Mother escapes and they try to absorb the station, and Nog references something. It's not shown in here, but he references Empok Nor. Yes. He references the episode Empok Nor of what happened to him, where he was when the last time he went out with the chief. Where what happened in the episode is they went to Empok Nor to get new parts for Deep Space Nine because they couldn't be replicated. They had to be original Cardassian parts. So Chief O'Brien took an engineering team which had Nog on the team, and they brought along Garrick because he was the only Cardassian that they knew who actually was not part of the military, and he was the only one living on the station. And it was explained in the episode how he got on the ship. Basically, Captain Sisko bribed him with some tailor stuff. He was happy for the bribe, so he came along. Nog volunteered to come along, and when they got there, started turning stuff on and ended up activating a couple dormant, there were 3 Cardassian soldiers left in cryo freeze. 2 were awakened. The third one was killed about a year after the station was abandoned. Yeah, apparently some beam basically crashed into his tank and basically killed him. And apparently they were part of this legendary Cardassian order called the Second Order, where it says death. Their motto was like death to all non-Cardassians. Yeah, apparently there's some kind of like experiment going on. This could and it's kind of explained in the episode how that's probably the reason why they abandoned the station. Of course, Empok Nor itself does show up another time in the actual show, where Goldru has taken over and he's become a god there. But yeah, in the episode, Garrick kills all the engineers under influence of a virus, and he tied up Nog and threatened to kill him. But Chief O'Brien managed to stop him, and he was cured of it. And of course, the episode was referenced again in Rocks and Shoals, which happened the following season. But yeah, it's all mentioned here as well. So pretty much you have references to at least, well, not only one episode of Next Generation, but also at least 2 or 3 episodes of the actual show. Now, this book picks up like right where in present day stuff. Well, it doesn't like deal with the stuff at the end of the previous book. It's just basically Nog and Chief O'Brien visiting an old friend who Captain Maxwell became the maintenance engineer of the station. Basically, they run him as a janitor because he just fixes toilets and fixes stuff that keeps breaking. Yeah, and there's this bar that apparently is like the only bar in this station. Yeah, it's quite bizarre. When I first saw this picture, I thought it might have been the Vanguard station, but this design looks so bizarre. I mean, it looks like there's 3 saucer sections, a long pole, and this. Look at this thing. I'm like, how the heck did and by the way, this station is owned by an Orion bank. I am not kidding about this. They explain this in the novel that it's not owned by people who actually are there. They're just the landlords. Well, basically, they're the building manager. They're the building supers, while the actual owners are on a safely comfortable planet. Yeah, owned by an Orion bank. Yes, and Chief O'Brien and Nog do use this runabout, and they do get into EVA suits. That does happen in the novel. But for a DS9 novel, this is a bit bizarre, to say the least. The last time they had a DS9 novel where it doesn't feature the entire cast, and it's not set in Deep Space Nine, aside from the worlds of Deep Space Nine, the only other time I could think of was A Snitch in Time, which had the book number 27 on it, despite the fact it's a book set right after the events of the series, where Garrick goes home after the war, after the mini-war. Garrick himself is not referenced in here, but Captain Ro is. Yeah, Ro Laren from Next Generation, who became Captain Deep Space Nine. She's referenced in here. And apparently Nog is explaining here. Jake appears in here as well, one of the flashbacks, and Dr. Bashir. Dr. Bashir is referenced several times. At this point, he's still in jail, waiting court-martial for what he did in the Star Trek: The Fall series. Though I think he might be getting pardoned soon. That's my guess. I don't know. I'm surprised this book didn't follow up what happened at the end of the previous book. So, yeah, you have a standalone adventure. It really has nothing to do with the action and plot stuff that happened in the previous book. But it's a fun little adventure to read, featuring Nog and Chief O'Brien. So, with this book, you have character development for Chief O'Brien and Captain Maxwell. Not much for Nog, per se, because there's a couple of flashbacks here that feature like one when he was still a waiter for Quark at Quark's bar. Another one was set just before the main story, where he's celebrating New Year's with Jake on Earth. And that's really it. But yeah, despite the fact despite the flashbacks and the stuff revealing for Captain Maxwell and Chief O'Brien, a little bit of stuff for Nog, this is still a fun book to read. I highly recommend people who are fans of Deep Space Nine, and especially Next Generation, because it does reference an episode from the series. I highly do recommend picking this up. The one of the flashbacks, I believe, was one set 38 years before the events of the story. That is after the Cestus 3 incident. It was referenced on Deep Space Nine and referenced on that one episode of Cardassians, where this was his Federation colony. It was explained in the episode that Captain Maxwell's family was living there at the time, and the Cardassians launched a sneak attack on the colony and massacred the colonists. It's kind of something what the Gorn did with another. It happened in the episode of The Arena, where it references colony got massacred by the Gorn, which the Federation later declared to be self-defense, purely by accident. So it's a similar idea, what they did, except it was the Cardassians who massacred the Federation colony instead of the Gorn. But yeah. But it's still really nice, and it's mentioned that Captain Maxwell's family was buried in Mexico. Because I think that they never mentioned who it was, and apparently Captain Maxwell was not only had a wife, he had kids, at least one daughter and a son, and that was it for his family. But like I said, fun novel, 9 out of 10. Highly recommend it. Alright, stay tuned for my next episode, which should be episode 21. Whatever book I decide to review for that episode, okay? But until then, I will see you there. Bye.